I'll find it in a minute.
Okay. I don't think nobody's had it on, but I almost made a boo-boo last week because it makes your voice echo and reverb and all that stuff.
And all the fellas say, "Loop, there it is." Let me hear all the ladies say, "Loop, there it is." Na 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 na. Hey, Bob, for my birthday, I want to go see Space Jam.
Okay.
It's gonna be on in Bristol.
When?
The 13th and the 16th. 13th is on a Saturday, I think.
I'll have to check and see if I'm off.
Well, you were off this weekend, right?
Yes. So I'll be off that weekend. Should be off that weekend. I might have a playoff game Saturday. You
No,
said
it's
the
on a
13th?
Sunday. It's on a Sunday.
Oh, okay.
I'll look and see what times they're playing.
What's it called, Aaron?
Space Jam.
It's called,
No.
It's called Track Info.
Track and hoe, bud. What are you talking about?
I'm searching for it in the help, but it's not showing up.
Okay, it may not be on that version then.
Yeah, this is the whatever it is. I guess the new version, or the newest one.
Version?
Yeah, I mean it's got all this. Now there's all this stuff you can cut on, like your dynamics, your EQ, your.
Yeah, that's where it should be at.
Oh, so should I turn all those off?
Yeah, just turn all that off.
I guess down is off.
Yeah. If it's lit up, has a little square in blue there, just hit that and it should turn it off too. It just unchecks it.
Yeah, this looks like an actual board. It's got like a bunch of switches and stuff on it. It's kind of weird. There's
Did
the
you
master.
download the new OS, Jared?
Well, it came on this one.
Oh, did you get a new one?
Yeah, the other one, that piece died out, and it wouldn't. The screen wouldn't come on anymore.
Because I haven't downloaded the one that has like Siri stuff on it yet.
Oh yeah, that's this one. I mean, it's pretty much the same. I think it takes up a little less space.
Yeah, I thought about I may do that tonight. Oh, I forgot to ran an update the other day. I was like, oh hey, you want to upgrade for free? Oh yeah.
So November.
Yeah, don't get too far behind because we did that with the last one, and we end up having to. I mean, it's only like $10 or $25 or something, but you got like 3 versions ahead.
Yeah.
And then we had to go back and buy like Snow Leopard or something.
You had to buy them all to get up to the
well, no, we only had to buy one of them, so then we could update for free after that. But we had to actually call them, and they had to send us a physical copy.
Wow. But they was like, what are you talking about? A physical copy? What? I don't understand.
Yeah, this was right when they switched over because we were trying to download something, and I was like, I don't see the App Store on here because it wasn't on. We had such an old OS.
Funny enough, I just got an upgrade to Mac OS Siri or Sierra. I was like, oh, okay, thanks, guys.
That means they're listening.
I guess so. Wow, Joe.
They work for the government, you know.
You guys got your stuff pulled up?
Yeah.
Don't talk about my stuff.
3, 2, 1. All right. Check it. Okay. No, to install that yet. Let's see. All right. Where's the mouse? Welcome to episode 30 of the Monsters of Geek podcast, and this is our brand new addition to our podcasting rotation. Jared came up with a great idea. We used to go over the releases, and it got to the point where it made the podcast a little bit long because we would spend a lot of time talking about the cool stuff that was coming out. So Jared decided, he said, hey, why don't we do a release podcast and just talk about all the stuff on the major streaming, the theatrical, and then I threw in the video games for the month that we're heading into, which is for this one, it would be November, as it'll be November 1st. Monday. So we want to go over some of the November releases and see how it goes. And Jared, I think it's a great idea. So with us today is Jared, of course. This is his idea. This is his baby. So he has to be on the episode. Our world heavyweight champion, not only not only defending the Monsters of Geek World Heavyweight Championship around the world on planets in other universes that are yet to be even seen, he now is booking some of the podcasts.
I hate to point out a mistake already, but Tuesday is the 1st. Tomorrow's the 31st.
Halloween's Monday.
Yeah.
Well, listen, it's just for November, okay? Jeez, okay.
Wait, it's not April?
And that is our sarcastic and witty and wonderfully, wonderfully handsome Yeti. What's up, buddy?
What's up?
All right. Now, before we get started here, we need to discuss, because we haven't done the last couple of weeks, what we've been up to, what we've been watching and whatnot. So, Joe, we'll start with you first. Actually, and I forgot to introduce myself. My name's Aaron. I'm the editor-in-chief of monstersofgeek.com, and you're wonderful host with a great mane of hair going on right now. I need a haircut. But Joe, what have you been up to this week?
I've been reading The Planet Hulk because we had some kind of like off time during work, so that comes in handy. And then trying to finish Longmire season. I think it's season 5 now. And I've been playing a lot of WWE 2K17, and I just started Red Dead Revolver today again.
Nice.
Yep. So
how far did you get it? Did you said you bought it? Or did you start it?
I bought it and started it. I'm about 4 levels into it because I do levels.
Okay.
So I'm just
how long is that game?
I can't remember how many.
It can't be no more than like 10 hours, right?
It's not very long.
Okay.
It's
you guys don't know what Red Dead Revolver is. That's the game that kind of created Red Dead Redemption, or came before. That was Rockstar's first cowboy game. Was Red Dead Revolver, if I'm not mistaken.
It was, and it's actually, I forgot how fun of a game that it was because it's just a really good shooter. Like it's kind of like
mechanics the same as Redemption, or does it? Does it have the slowdown time and the horseback riding and stuff?
It does have the dead eye. I know it has some horseback riding in it, but I mean it's not like an open world. It's just levels. So you go it's just different levels. You go each level and you catch the bad guy and you get your money. But it's almost like an arcade feel to it, like an arcade shooter feel. That's kind of what I like about it. Like when you pull out your gun, you see your crosshairs are yellow. And then when you move it onto your target, they turn red, so you know that you're on them. But is
it the Sunset Riders remake that we need?
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, it has that feel to it.
I like to interview some of the Rockstar guys, but like, hey, how does Sunset Riders play into their creation of the Red Dead series? Because I mean, it had to, right?
I mean,
it was like the greatest Western shoot 'em up until Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah, I mean, if you play Red Dead Revolver, which you said you didn't, which kind of surprised me, it's only $15 on the PlayStation Network on the PS4. Totally worth that. It's a really fun, just Western. It almost has like a spaghetti Western type of feel to it because it's kind of silly at the same time. So it's just a really good shooter.
Jared, what you been up to, man?
Well, I finished Luke Cage, and that took up about a whole week of my time, or my afternoons after the kids went to bed. So, but that was 2 weeks ago.
Let your kids watch Luke Cage?
No, I'm not that cool. I've let them watch a lot of stuff, but no, not Luke Cage. Lucy's into a lot of the old TV shows that I watched growing up. Right now, she's really big into Pee-wee's Playhouse.
There you go.
So it's been pretty cool to go back, and she gets excited about watching it, and then I see stuff, and I'm like, I remember all this. So I always try to push towards some of that stuff. DuckTales.
Do you see anything now that you're? Do you see anything now that you're an adult that maybe you didn't get when you was a kid?
Oh yes! Oh my gosh, that show is so dirty. You wouldn't believe it. I mean, there's so many little things in there, and I was just like, I was telling Robin the other day we were watching it. I was like, do you see all this on here? I can't believe that they put that stuff in there and got away. I mean, this was back in the late 80s.
Yeah, late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, like 89, 90, 91, somewhere around there. I was like, oh my gosh. I can't believe they did that.
You should go back and watch some of the old Nickelodeon cartoons because they're just as dirty.
Oh, yeah. Well, there was one part, and there's this, like one of Pee-wee's neighbors, and I don't know what she was lifting weights or something, but like a barbell had fell on her, and I think Pee-wee was dreaming, and like she was laying on her back and hollering for help, and when he goes to help, like the barbell's there, and it's got like 2 big humps in it, and I was like, I can't believe they put that on there. But yeah, there's a lot of little subtle things like that I chuckle at, but I know the kids. I hope they don't get, but
they'll get it one day because then you can go back and rewatch it when they're older and be like, hey, like when they're like 20.
Yeah,
19, 20.
Even you go back and watch some of those, even Disney movies. There's always some little things in there. Yeah, like the Roger Rabbit, stuff like that. There's always something in there. And there's some stuff that Lucy will watch, and, she's watched it 50 or 100 times, and I always pick up something new. And it's kind of neat. Like when she used to watch Cars all the time, every time she watched it, there was always like one little line or, you just see something new in there that you're like, I always like doing that. Just finding something new in there after you've seen it 100 times.
I always thought it was. We went back and watched The Little Mermaid. I got it for Shauna on Blu-ray, and we went back and watched it. And one of the things that she pointed out, she said she always thought once she went back and watched it, and I had never known. I hadn't watched this movie in years. And she said what really creeps me out is the prince, like his age, he looks so much older, and like The Little Mermaid, like he's 15, and he looks like he's like 25. And I don't know what the age is on that, but it does, like he looks so much more older than what she is, and it's been pretty much explained she's a teenager.
Yeah, and you know what?
That was kind of creepy. Once I sat back, I was like, that is kind of creepy.
It is. I've never even thought about that.
Yeah, but I mean, underwater age might be different than human age.
Much.
I mean, she may look like a teenager, but she could be like 92.
Oh, gotta love those old cartoons. Jared, is that all you've been up to, man? Just Luke Cage?
Yeah, pretty much. No video gaming. Yeah, I think Luke Cage is about it. There was something else. There was some movie I watched. I'd watched Captain America: Civil War, but for some reason I didn't get to do hardly anything this week. It's been kind of a blur. I'm not really for sure what I've done this week, to be quite honest. I did pick up, I was telling Joe a little bit, picked up a new game for my Vita. I know it's amazing. I picked up a new game for the Vita. Let me see. I got to look at the name because it's a ridiculous name. It's called Yomari is how it says it. It's an NIS game. If you know NIS releases some really weird stuff. They're one of those niche Japanese RPG stuff, and some of the stuff NIS releases is just like out in left field stuff. It's just, and I read the synopsis about 2 weeks ago. I follow a Twitter account that does like they'll put out video game deals, like cheaper, and there's stuff on sale and stuff on Amazon when they drop a price, so I can run up to Walmart if I'm interested in the game to price match it. And so they actually has a physical copy of it, and basically it's like a survival horror. Now you know me, I'm not a big survival horror fan, except for Dead Space, because I'm a big scaredy cat. But this one is like you're a little girl that returns home, and the dog is at home, but her sister is gone, and then the dog runs out the door, and the dog doesn't return, and you have to go find the dog and the sister, and the town is like haunted. So you have to kind of do these puzzles and stuff to figure out where your dog and your sister is. And it's top down, so it's kind of a cutesy type of game. It's not, first person shooter or really kind of realistic looking. It's like a top down, kind of like, I guess, Earthbound to a certain extent, obviously with new graphics. So it's kind of that top down kind of view.
And I was reading a review of it to see what this guy thought, and it got about an 8. He said there were some issues with it, but he really liked it, and said that, you know, to add to the kind of like this childlike nature, the childlike kind of graphics to it, you have this map that's made completely out of crayon. And I thought, how cool. He said the map, like he said, it's like a map that a kid would make. And so you're trying to find your sister. And he said there's some jump scares here or there. He said it's not super, super scary, which is probably why I bought it. But the game was just the look of the game I thought was really cool. So I haven't played it yet. Actually, I just downloaded it tonight to see what it is. And hopefully I'll have a little bit of a review up. But that's what I've done. Of course, I've been watching some Nitro stuff just while I'm eating and stuff. Some of that stuff isn't even watchable at this point, but whatever.
It may not be super scary for him, but for you, it'd probably be like nightmare fuel.
Oh, I bet I'm terrified of this game. Like, it's just, but it's such a weird, you know, I like those games that have that juxtaposition of kind of cutesy graphics type of thing, or graphics you don't expect to be in the game genre that you're playing. So it's cool looking, and it had me from the visuals, and I'm not a huge graphics guy. That's why, you know, I'll play old games. I'm like Jared, I'll play anything as long as it's fun. It doesn't have to look the best in the world, but ever so often you'll get an indie title. I'm like, man, that looks really, really cool. I think I'll play it. And that one was visually, it caught my eye, and then the reviews have been pretty good on it. I think it's on Steam too, if anybody's, you know, wants to jump on Steam.
You know, there's one game I've always wanted to play, but I've never like bought it. But when we were on, or we used to watch Justin TV all the time, and you had some of those game channels on there, and I remember sitting there for hours watching this guy play Super Meat Boy, and just I'm like, I would get almost to the point where you're like yelling at the TV because they're doing something stupid, trying to get through the level. But I think it finally came out on PlayStation, but I think it was an Xbox. It was only an Xbox title there for a long time.
It's out pretty much on everything now. Have you seen the movie Indie Game, Jared? It's on Netflix.
I've seen it up, but I haven't watched it.
Yeah, there's a sequel now, but the first one had the guy that did Fez, the Super Meat Boy guys, and one more, and it kind of takes you through the process, because they were like one of those free games that they used to put out on Xbox, or like the indie titles they used to like put up for like free or $5.99 or 99 cents or whatever. And just the process of them going through everything, and all those games, I think every game that was on that movie became huge. You know, millionaires out of these guys. But yeah, you're right. Some of those levels, like they show, kind of go through the process. Like, this is where I wanted to. He said I really wanted to make like a sadistic version of Mario and stuff like that, which this game is. I mean, this game is just ridiculously hard looking. But it's pretty neat. I mean, it's pretty neat to see him go through the process, because that game is just ridiculous. I think it's like 97 cents on Steam, or $1.50 on Steam, which I've never played it, but you know, it's pretty.
Yeah, and I like you know, after you beat the level, like it shows every run simultaneously. So like if you've died 200 times, you get to see all 200 deaths while that one is just, you know, bouncing around through there.
Look here. Joe just sent us a link.
Yeah, I want y'all to watch this. I just want you to see my hero, Rob Gronkowski.
Oh gosh.
And I want to get your like live feel about this video, because it's so great.
Okay, so if this is terrible for an actual audio podcast, but so this is Uncover Lift with Rob Gronkowski, and so he's dressed up as like a hipster version of himself, I guess.
Like this is like 4 minutes long.
Yeah, you can just skip to the very end. I'll tell you when. Hold on, I'll give you minutes.
Oh, is he playing an Uber driver?
Yeah, Lyft driver.
Oh, okay, a Lyft driver. Oh, I see now. Undercover Lyft.
Yeah, I think Shaq has done one, and Richard Sherman has done one.
Skip to 335.
335.
335. And watch this guy.
So Gronk just farted before the guy got into the car. Or this person. I'm sorry, it's a lady.
It cuts off.
Yeah, mine just ended.
I know, but just his reaction.
Really? Is that all you want us to watch? Is Gronk
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
That's the last time I ever opened a link from Joe ever.
I got you with the grunt part.
If that even makes it in the show, I'm a terrible editor. Okay. All right, so let's move on to the.
It's gonna be on the YouTube, baby. It's gonna be on the YouTube.
Well, let's move on to the main topics. Yeti has been suspended from the podcast. He may or may not be back next week.
You need one of those buttons that they have on Pardon the
I need a
Interruption.
whammy button. I could just wham.
You're muted for a minute.
Like PTI where you get muted.
Yep.
So, -5. All right. So the big news before we get into the picks is something that I was thinking about covering, and then Jared, I was actually thinking about writing a piece, and then Jared texted me. He's like, "Hey, can we talk about this too?" And I said, "Yeah, it'd be great because I don't have much time to sit down and write anymore." So, The Walking Dead this is season 7, right, Jared?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, season 7 premiere. Obviously, season 6, Negan showed up, played by
Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Of Watchmen fame and Grey's Anatomy fame and anything else that he's in.
Supernatural.
He's what'd you say, Joe?
Supernatural.
He plays the dad, right?
Yep.
Which I saw a funny picture the other day of him holding a bat, playing baseball, or whatever, and it said Supernatural tried to warn us. Did you see that, Jared?
Yeah, I saw that too.
I thought that was really. I don't watch Supernatural, but I know Joe's a big fan. I thought, that's funny. So he showed up with season 6. The big plot, the big plot line that was left dangling was who he was going to kill with Lucille. Which, if you don't know what Lucille is, that's his wonderful bat with barbed wire that he tends to maim and kill and whatever else he wants to do with that barbed wire bat. That's his buddy. That's his companion. Like we had My Pet Monster, Negan has Lucille. So I mean, come on. So The Walking Dead season 7 premiere comes around. If you read the comic, you knew what happened. All of us has read the comic, so we kind of knew what was going to happen. We knew who was going to die, and there'll probably be some spoilers. As far as so if you haven't watched it yet, you might as well not watch it and just quit because it's been 2 weeks at this point because the new episode comes out tonight, right, Jared?
Yeah, actually, the new episode is over.
Oh, it's over.
Yeah,
so get on it already.
It's 10:41 and it was over at 10. So
okay, cool. So there will be spoilers in this discussion. If you want to shut off the podcast now, you can. And in 3, 2, 1, we are going to discuss spoilers. Okay, so we knew, and this is for spoilers for the comic book too. Which, if you're that far behind with the comic book, you just might as well just watch a TV show at this point. So the comic book, we knew that what's his name was going to die. Now I can't remember his name. Glenn was going to die. In the comics, that's what happens to Glenn. He does the eeny, meeny, miny, mo thing, and he busts Glenn's eye completely out like he did last time, and it was emotional, and it was terrible because we all love Glenn in the comics, and we love Maggie. Maggie's pregnant in the comics as well. So it's kind of sucked to lose Glenn because Glenn's been pretty cool, both in the comics and apparently in the show. Jared, is he pretty cool in the show as well?
Yeah, he's a real likable character, and there did like the montage after his death for the Talking Dead, and he was had some really memorable parts on there. So yeah, and I don't see, like everybody always talks about, if Daryl dies, we write, but I didn't realize seeing how many people are emotionally attached to Glenn. I mean, I don't know if it's just because they killed somebody, but the outrage was far more than what I expected because who didn't know that he was going to die? I mean, come on.
Well, in the comics, I don't watch. I've watched bits and pieces at Rob and Jared's house. I don't watch the show. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's good. It's just I got so far ahead in the comic that I'm just like, I'll just read the comic. This is my Walking Dead universe, and then I'll just leave that one be. But I do keep up with it because to be quite honest, it's kind of hard not to. If you're on social media, it's kind of hard not to keep up with the Walking Dead. But when Glenn died in the comics, it sucked. I mean, because he was such a good character in the comics, and apparently in the show, and Jerry, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. He was one of those guys that like almost every like near death had Glenn involved in it. Like it just seemed like he just escaped death. So when they finally killed Glenn, I thought, well, maybe he's not dead. And then, after the eyeball popped out, I thought, yeah, well, he's probably dead. He's not going back for that. Joe, what'd you think? Now you watched it. You haven't watched the show up until this point, because I think we're all in agreement that Negan is probably the best villain to be created in the last 5 years. As far as just overall, just sadistic guy, craziness, psychopath, sociopath, whatever you want to call him. All those rolled into one nasty egg roll. Joe, what'd you think about what you saw in the season premiere?
I loved it. Like, I'm probably the only one that would say that they absolutely loved it. Just because they got, like, I was worried about how they was going to do Negan, because Negan in the comic book is such a, I'm trying to think of the right word here, such a bad character, just with language and everything like that. So I was like, they're probably not going to do Negan right. But they done him spot on. Like, and it really made me happy that they actually stuck with something this time.
Well, that's when he was announced, and I think I talked with both of you guys about it, was that, Negan is a very over-the-top, extremely violent, extremely psychopathic character. You think the Joker's bad. It's like, 1,000 Jokers and then throw another, 500 on top of that. He's just a craziness. And the difference is he's so silent. Like, he's not, like, nothing affects him. It's just, I want to do this and I'm not going to show any emotion. And I'm just going to do it. And those characters, when you have a villain like that, those tend to be the best villains. One of the reasons that, the Joker for Heath Ledger was so good, because he was just kind of quiet. It's like his quiet kind of chaos going on. That this was his world, and this is my world. I want to do whatever I want to, and I don't care either. I don't care what you feel, because I don't really feel nothing. I'm just going to do it. I had my worries that they were going to kind of PG-13 him, and I don't think he's a character that can be put in a PG-13 mold. So, Jared, what'd you think? Joe really liked the depiction of him. What'd you think when he, obviously we saw him in season 6, or you guys saw him in season 6. What did you think when this is Negan, fully revealed at this point?
Yeah, and it is the perfect depiction of him. And me and Robin were talking, and I compare him to this. It's like Negan is an extension of the comedian. Mm-hmm. I mean, that part kind of prepared him for this, because, he's still got, it's kind of very sadistic the way he was, but, the comedian was as well in a lot of things that he did. And this character just kind of a rollover of that. And yeah, he plays him perfect to a T. His actions, like when he, well, of course, spoilers, smashes, he kills Abraham first.
Right, which was a surprise. I'm not a huge Abraham fan. Not like I didn't like him in the comics or did like him, but
Now, Abraham in the show is a better character, I believe, or a more likable character.
Well, it seemed like there was a lot of people that were pretty upset, not only with the Glenn thing, because obviously it's a second death, and in the comics we didn't get a second death, but a lot of people were kind of upset about Abraham, which for me, I've never watched the show. I was like, why is everybody upset about Abraham? But it seems like he got a little bit more, he got a bit better of a characterization.
Yeah, and he was, I don't know what made him so likable. I mean, I really liked him, but he always had these one-liners. Like, they were driving down the road, and he was talking about, I don't remember if he was talking about shaving his body or shaving his face or something, and being dolphin smooth. And I mean, it was just these one-liners that become like, had taken over the internet for a while, and everybody was saying them. But yeah, he cracks Abraham over the head with that, and his head drops, and then he comes up again, and like Negan's like, is celebrating. He's like, oh yeah, he's like, you took that like a champ. It just, the way he delivers those lines. And I think in the DVD and Blu-ray release, that there are more lines added for Negan. That was the rumor, at least, that what they were going to do, because all that they wanted to put in there, they couldn't put on AMC. But, they fit in as much as they possibly can. They kind of push it. So,
well, Joe talked about his, the way that he talks in the comics. I mean, Robert Kirkman's a lot of things. I don't think I've ever seen anyone use profane language like Robert Kirkman did with Negan. It was almost like, we're all Tarantino fans, and he obviously, like, I don't know if he still holds a record for the most curse words in a film or not, but those are just cuss words. He just kind of throws them out. Negan was almost like this really sadistic, terrible poetry of just terrible words strung together, and you're just like, this guy is, and he's just psychotic. Like, it's just, and you got to give it to Kirkman, because I never thought, I was like, what does that even mean? Like, I don't even understand.
It's kind of like the Christmas Story when Ralphie compares his dad's artistry to dealing in profane language.
Negan, oh my gosh, Negan's like an extension of him. I think we need to write a piece trying to connect the lineage between Negan and Ralphie.
Gosh.
I mean, it starts with the language, man. It starts with the language.
What happened if it is Ralphie and
what happened if it's Ralphie's little brother?
Oh yeah.
What happened if it's What happened if Negan becomes Ralph? The little brother, Ralphie's little brother, becomes Negan. That's a story. Go ahead, Kirkman. I gave that one to you for free.
All them years in that snowsuit.
Oh man. Okay, that's a really good analogy, Jared. That hit it right on the, because it was just. Man, I obviously I can't say anything that he wrote down, but if you ever read the comic, please be warned: do not let your kids get a hold of any of those, because they'll learn some new words that you'll be surprised that they know how to say.
They probably already know them.
It's the internet, of course. So one of the biggest things that kind of got brought up, and we'll try not to talk about this too long, but obviously the violence of the scene. Now, in the comic is super, and Joe's making a face at me through YouTube. So the comic was super violent. Basically, at least with Glenn, it was pretty much, from what I understand, panel perfect almost. As far as everything, even when he turned to look at Maggie, it was panel perfect from what I understand. The comic in general is super violent, very hyper violent. That there was a mature comic right out from the get go, and it was. Anything that comes out through Image is usually mature, so not for kids. When I sold my trades, I had like 22 trades. I made it very clear that this was not for kids, because we know that some kids watch The Walking Dead. And I said, this is not for kids. Don't buy this and give it to your kids. I know they love The Walking Dead, but this isn't what you don't need to read any of this if you're under 18 years old. So what do you guys think about them? I didn't watch it. I did see the kind of pan shot that they did, and I saw the eyeball kind of popping out of Glenn. I went on Twitter just to see if anybody posted anything about it. I don't know which one it was, but they panned out. I guess it was Abraham that pretty much showed his head. Looked like somebody put a piece of dynamite in his head and exploded, which was pretty graphic for even cable television at this point, something like AMC. And then Glenn, of course, his eyeball popping out. Before Joe goes in his rant, Jared, what do you think about the violence overall? And obviously with Negan, we both understand that had to be done as far as to set up the character as a very bad person. But what did you think overall of how they handled that?
I think there's been worse on TV. But, it does start out like that. But he completely obliterates both of their heads. Basically, there's just like a pulp laying there on the ground, compared to like just a bloody mass. I mean, it's a pulp, and he does kind of wave it around a little bit to where there's like brain mash dripping off of it, and kind of he slings it, and blood splatter gets on everybody. So I'm not going to say it's the most violent. I think it was done in the right way. But, it was dark because it was shot at night. And so it wasn't as bright as it could have been. And I think that, they did that because I think in the comic it was done right in the middle of the day when they had.
No, I think it was done at night. It was done at night.
Was it?
It was in between the roads, I believe. Remember, they was traveling back and forth.
Yep.
And broke down, I think.
Okay.
They jumped them. They ambushed them at night.
Yeah. I thought it was during the day. But anyway, I mean, so, that kind of creates a lot of shadow, so you can play it a lot. Now, I mean, if it would have been like full on daylight and it would have showed that, I could see a lot of people getting upset over it. But for what it was, I don't think it was that bad.
Joe, what'd you think, man?
Jared hit it on the head. There's been worse things on television.
Well, you say that, but we're talking about cable television. We're not talking about HBO Game of Thrones
I'm not talking about HBO Game of Thrones stuff.
So what more violent have you seen on, I don't know, something on cable? AMC's been on cable forever, and obviously
Sons of Anarchy season 6, they had a school shooting where a kid took a Uzi to school and shot all his classmates.
Now, Sons of Anarchy had a lot of stuff in it.
No, it didn't show the school shooting, but you could see through the windows the shadows and the depiction of what was going on.
But they didn't show the shooting. Like, they didn't show bullets ripping through kids.
No, but you knew what was going on because you could see the shadow of it.
Okay, you knew. And you know, it's in your mind. You probably make it worse. But did they depict it?
Yeah, with the shadows, they did, yes. There was shadow play on the windows.
But they didn't show the skin ripping from somebody or an eyeball hanging out.
They didn't show the skin ripping. Like, they didn't show him hitting them with a bat. They showed him afterwards. The eyeball popped out. Oh, big deal. That's what happens when you get hit with a bat.
Go ahead. And what else did you think about it?
I don't think it was like the worst thing I've ever seen. Everybody on the internet was talking about, oh, this is why people do violence. It's because stuff like this, it desensitizes us. Dude, no. Like, I'm not going to go hit somebody with a baseball bat. I can tell my world away from a fictional world that I can walk away from. And I've always been able to do that. If you can't tell the difference between that, then you should stop watching it or stop reading whatever you're reading or playing whatever you're playing. It's ridiculous.
Okay, so here's my take on it. Let me say this first. I'm not conservative enough to think that violent video games and movies and all that stuff makes people do stuff, but I'm not liberal enough to think that guns is the only thing that kills people and stuff either. I think there is things in the media that can drive some people to commit acts of violence, or at least part of it, whether it be the upbringing or whatever. Now, Joe does explain, you know, we, as far as the way that we were raised, I'm sure Jared's maybe the same way, you know, we were very much told that this is real and this is not. Okay. I think that in the world of the internet and some other things, sometimes kids are exposed to things that they're not emotionally or mature. Their maturity level isn't necessarily that they, unless, you know, that they can tell between what's real and what's not. Okay. That's just my personal opinion. So I'm not saying that, you know, violent media is the only reason, but let's just be quite honest. I think it's naive if you don't think that has some kind of place for that. So my thing is you have to do, I think the Walking Dead showrunners were in a rock and a hard place. They had either the hardcore Walking Dead internet fans versus, you know, the people that don't necessarily know Walking Dead is a comic, doesn't know this character. How are they going to reproduce it so they don't make these people mad, but they don't make these people mad? So I think they chose to make the internet fanboys happy, which to me, and me and my wife have talked about this, you have to do that with that character. I have no issue how they recreated the character. You have to. He has to be a bad dude. Part of my thing is, for me personally, like, the older I get, the more that type of violence bothers me. And it's just me personally. I don't know why. I don't know even when it started, but at some point, that type of really gruesome violence, like when people talked about the Game of Thrones, the guy crushing the guy's head, I heard somebody watching on YouTube and the scream. I was like, nope, I'm out. Like, I can't, I'm not even going to look at that. I'm done. I don't need to see that. And I felt the same way with this one. I didn't really need to see the action. That still enough told me that I personally did not want to see that. My thing is, I believe that people got the from what I understand and from what you guys have described, it's pretty graphic. I mean, especially for AMC, like especially for a cable network that has been on cable for years. Used to show John Wayne movies all the time, and now they're showing Negan bashing skulls. So it is a much of a different channel than it was, 10 years ago. I think that we talk about being desensitized to violence. I do believe as a culture we are desensitized, not necessarily because of popular media, but we're talking about news as well. This 24-hour news cycle, news isn't good anymore. Like you can't watch the news for 10 seconds and not feel like you got the weight of the world on your shoulders because of how negative it is and what they show. But my issue is I think that it took such a extremely violent scene for people to get mad, which tells me that we have become somewhat desensitized to violence. Like it takes someone taking a barbed wire bat and completely obliterating two human beings And I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's bad. It's whatever. I don't care. I don't watch the show. But I did find it that out of all the violence that we now see on TV, movies, the news, that this is what got everybody riled up. So to me, it had to be pretty extremely violent for me personally for people to get mad. That just shows for me personally, I feel like we are pretty desensitized to violence.
This is a post-apocalyptic world. It's not the world we live in. I think it was totally fine. I think it was an awesome thing to do. I was happy they done it. There was a lot worse stuff on it. I won't go into details on anything that I've seen on TV that's worse than it because I don't want to use some of the words. But I mean, you always said they should do a case study on me when I play games or anything like that. You've always said that. I mean, I'm not gonna go like we'll take the Fable 2 thing for instance. I'm not gonna go and shoot somebody because a kid wants another gift. No, that's not gonna be me after I walk out of a video game. That's me in the video game. But I mean, I'm not gonna go watch this and then go, oh, I want to go hit somebody in the head with a baseball bat.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not even implying that. What I'm saying
I know
though
that,
is
but
you have to admit that you have to admit just a little bit that we are desensitized to the violence if it takes such an extreme act of violence to get everybody riled up.
I don't think it was the extreme act of violence. I think it was just them seeing the effect from it. Because you didn't see him hit with the baseball bat. You just saw the effect of it or the result of it. And I think it shocked people because, yeah, his skull was split open when he came back up. His eye was popping out. It was grotesque. I mean, you could probably blame the horror movies. I don't get grossed out of that stuff. But, I mean, it wasn't as bad as I don't think the internet made it out to be. I think you hit the nail on the head, or you were talking about when kids and stuff like that on the internet. I mean, there's parental blockers, stuff like that. Parents can do stuff. Don't buy your kids Modern Warfare or GTA 5 or anything if you don't want them. If you feel like they're gonna grow up to be sadistic murderers,
I don't know if you can ever feel if your kid's going to grow up to be a sadistic murderer or not.
Well, I mean, they should.
I don't
be
think
playing,
there's any outliers for that.
One, I mean, if 13 years old, I think is the cutoff limit to be watching Walking Dead. If your kid's younger than 13 years old, they shouldn't be watching it. I mean, that's just my personal opinion.
My personal opinion, I think you should be at least 16, if that. I mean, I think it's a pretty mature show. What I'm trying to say is, you talk about violent video games, and they do have ratings, and we do have kids that play GTA, and that's part of I think the desensitizing is that GTA is out there, and kids play GTA. It takes such an act of violence to really get people riled up. Jared, what do you think about the acts of violence? And you got to remember, this show is, and when I was talking to my wife Sean about this has become kind of a cultural phenomenon. Like, this show is all over the place. You see it in T-shirts. You see their action figures in the kids' action figure aisle in Walmart. Like, you think I'm not saying you tone it down, but, I mean, people were mad because it was pretty, what I read, so even some liberal, I mean, even not liberal sites, but some sites, like entertainment sites that are used to covering violent things, was like, maybe they went a little bit too far.
I was surprised at all the reaction. And most of what I read really wasn't about the extreme violence. Most of the people were like upset that they killed off two characters, and it just didn't make any sense. Like, people were like, "Oh, time to boycott the show. They killed off somebody," and I'm like, "That's stupid." I mean, and most people watch. It's not about the walkers. We've seen tons of stuff. They've cut them open and rubbed their guts all over them so that they could walk out among the walkers. There was the whole first season. She's like, I don't know if I can watch this. She's like, it's too much. When they take down the horse and the walkers are eating the horse. I mean, it shows them biting in and pulling the flesh and everything. And I mean, probably the part that I could say, oh, they went too far, was when Abraham and Glenn were on the ground. And I think it only shows it with Abraham. I don't think it shows it with Glenn.
I only saw the one with Abraham. That was the one that was like, holy crap! Like they really, I didn't expect to see
when
that.
Abraham was like fully laid out on the ground, and it just shows him keep pummeling and pummeling and pummeling until there's nothing left. And I could see, okay, maybe you didn't need to show that. Maybe you should have just showed him swing it. You know what I'm saying? Just showed Negan as he was bringing the bat down, instead of just showing him basically beat it to a pulp. I could say that probably was too far, but hitting the head with the bat, that wasn't that bad. I didn't think. I mean, it split him open. He comes back up. He hits him a couple more times, and once he goes down, then I think you cut away, and you can just see the aftermath of it, or not even the full aftermath. You just see, the blood pool or whatever. So I think that part probably had went too far. But I mean, overall though, I mean, I find it easier to watch that than I do like when the zombie or the walkers are biting and tearing people's flesh. They're biting them on the neck and the legs and the arm and just ripping at them. I find it much harder to watch that, or like if somebody's getting shot or cut in, like Audition. I was thinking about, when they take the little needles and they put it in somebody's eye. I'm like, I find that much harder to watch than a lot of this other stuff.
I totally agree, but that's not on network television. Or at least
it's not.
Television.
I mean, there's been stuff. There's been stuff like that on there, but I mean, to me, I guess I am probably desensitized to it.
I think we're all pretty desensitized to it because as far as the zombie stuff, that's become such a part of this. Well, I say pop culture, but really culture over the last 10 years. That type of violence, I don't see a lot of people getting upset about that type of violence. What I saw on Twitter was there were some people that were just upset about the characters, totally. But then there were some people that was like, holy crap, like, I really didn't expect to see that. I don't know if I'm going to watch next episode because I didn't really like it, which is fine. And that's, that to us, it's probably not. But I did see a lot of reaction to and a lot of articles that was more about the violence than it was necessarily about, just the show in general.
And I mean, I do understand that. And like I said, I think, it would have been okay for them to show them hitting Abraham and Glenn a couple times, not showing him beating it to a bloody pulp. I think that's the part that most people had the problem with, because like at the end of Abraham's, you see him lift the bat up and there's like brain matter that's dripping off of it. And I think once you take it that far, that's where most people had the problem with. Not the initial 2 or 3 swings when he hits him and he goes down, he comes up, then he hits him 2 more times, and then he finally goes down. You can just show him swinging the bat from that point on. Don't show him.
I think that's where I saw the problem. That's where the problem was at. Like as far as the initial hitting of the bat and all this stuff, that wasn't what I necessarily saw the outrage about, or I guess outrage. I guess in quotations. I don't know if you can be outraged about a TV show anymore, but yeah. So as far as that was the part that people's like, well, when they zoom back and when like Abraham's, I guess, hand was twitching or something, that's when he kept beating him in the head to get his hand to quit twitching. I think a lot of people had some issues with, but I don't know. Yeah,
and that's when they, and they pretty much showed all of that, him just continuing to beat him. So I think that's when they kind of pushed it too far. But to be honest, I mean, there was a warning. There was a warning when the show came on, and it was 15 minutes in before they even showed that. And there was a warning after warning after warning every time the show came back from break. Yeah, I mean, there was. Yeah. They were like, this is, a very, basically this is extreme violence. So you've been warned. And, but I mean, there was a lot of people crying just because the characters died. And I'm like,
right. It's about 50-50. I saw people that was upset because the characters died. I saw people upset because of how much the violence was.
And I'm like, I'm just surprised. I'm just surprised that, people knew that these characters were going to die. Or, I mean, there was rumors that Abraham and Glenn were going to die floating around, but everybody knew Glenn was going to die. But yet there was still people like, I'm not watching anymore. They killed off Glenn. And I'm like, Everybody knew it was going to happen. I mean, yeah, exactly.
Now,
Go ahead,
Jared,
Joe.
let me ask you this: you've watched it. I've not watched it that much. I've watched a couple episodes, but when it got to the governor part of it, like, did they show? Like, I don't know if they changed it from the comic, but what all he done to Michonne, and then what she done to him afterwards.
Oh,
I mean,
oh yeah. I mean, it showed her. She put out his eye. I can't remember. It showed.
Did they show him chopping him up though?
It showed like she cut off his hand, or was it leg or hand?
I thought it was a lot of things.
yeah.
Well, yeah, but it didn't go. I think they're still working with like paying. It costs a lot of money to show somebody without a body part, evidently.
Well, and that was pretty early in the show. What was that, season 2 or 3, right? So I'm sure they
thinking
still had to mind
3.
their P's and Q's a little bit before they went all hog wild.
But I mean, did it show her like take his eye out and chop his like hand off? And
I don't think she chopped. I can't remember what all happened to her. I know she did take his eye out, and I think they did show that. And now there was some stuff in there because Glenn had been captured by the governor and chained up, and he was beat pretty bad. And then like it shows him escape. And I think like he breaks apart the chair he was attached to and ends up killing 2 of the guards with like the wood shards from the chair. So
see, I think that the issue is, and this goes to every TV show that has been popular that's been violent. We'll take SOA and Walking Dead for examples. When it's your favorite characters doing the violence, it's okay. But when the violence happens to the characters that you like, it's going to be like, oh my God, it's too violent.
And I'll point out this, like The Walking Dead, you get something like this maybe 2 or 3 times a season. When Sons of Anarchy was on, there toward the end, it was every single episode, multiple times an episode. I mean, it was pretty extreme. I was like, I can't believe that they put this on TV. I mean, I can see The Walking Dead being on TV, but there was some episodes of Sons of Anarchy I was a little shocked about. Was there some
precedent for Sons of Anarchy on FX though? Because The Shield was pretty violent too, if I can remember correctly. So do you think it was more because, like I said, AMC, I guess to this point, they put out some pretty violent stuff. But, I mean, AMC versus FX at this point, FX had pretty much established, hey, this is kind of like, that was the first mature cable
now,
network.
There was a few episodes of Breaking Bad that were pretty over the top. I mean, you had a guy decapitated, and they'd attached his head to a tortoise, and it was walking across the desert. There was some other things. For some reason,
that just sounds like a loony. Jared, what are you talking about?
The one guy was crushed by an ATM machine. They pushed it over on his head. I mean, you didn't see. You just see like the ATM machine falls over, and then blood starts running out from under it. So you know what's happened. There's been a couple other things on there that not as gory as this, but still pretty violent.
I just found it, like I said, I didn't watch it. I saw the stills. Like I said, as older I got, the more that I don't know if it makes me sick or just uneasy. I guess it made me uneasy, I guess is the word for me. And I'm not, putting any judgment out there whether you liked it or not. Like, I don't want you people to listen to, man, he's a holier than thou guy. No, that's all I'm saying. It's just for me personally. I just wouldn't have watched it. But what struck me was because of that outrage, like I said before, you talk about all these scenes we're talking about, talk about the zombie stuff. I just feel like that there is some kind of that we are desensitized to violence. And for that to be such an outrage, I thought, man, they must have really pushed the envelope tonight to make people mad. Because like I said, it was like 50-50. It wasn't like 60-40 character. It's like 50-50. Like there were some people like, I didn't even like Abraham or Glenn or whatever. And it's like, that was kind of a little bit over the top. And so for me personally, I do feel like we've been desensitized. And I knew that they had done something pretty violent for people to get riled up about that portion of it.
And
whether you agree with it or not, I mean,
I think TV standards have changed. If you go back, you go back and look in the early 90s when on Halloween or Friday the 13th, when they would show the horror movies, there's a lot of stuff that they would cut out. Now what you see in the theater, I mean, or on DVD or whatever, they'll show it on cable TV. So, it's changed what all they'll put out there. But yeah, you're right. We have become desensitized to it, and I think they keep not necessarily. I think this was just like a one episode type thing. This was to show how terrible this is. Yeah, how brutal he is, and how calm he was at doing it.
Yeah, I mean, as far as someone who's read the character from the beginning in the comics, I've told both of you guys this. When I first read Negan and he did what he did, the first time we meet Negan, is exactly the same way you meet him. He jumps out of the van and he kills somebody brutally. And so from there on out, anytime he's on the page, like I get goosebumps just thinking about it, because every time he's on the page, you're like, what is this crazy guy going to do? Like, who is he going to kill next? Like if he's on, I remember in here, spoiler comics, Carl jumps into the van and gets took to his compound, and Rick doesn't know it. And he finds out about it. Yeah. So the whole time, anytime you have a scene with him and Carl, you're like, he's going to kill this kid. Like it's not if, it's when he's going to kill Carl. And so the whole time, or any character he's near, you're like, he's going to kill this person, because he's just a sociopath. Like, he doesn't care. He wants to maintain control and have that creepy smile on his face while he's killing somebody. So the character, as far as what I read, I'm glad as someone that's a fan of the original series that they made this guy a villain, like not a cool villain, a despicable killer. I mean, that's just what he is. I mean, you can make, all the death in the Walking Dead comics, you can make some kind of excuse for, like they were attacked or something like that, and they was provoked. But this guy is just like, I'm just going to kill you just to prove a point. And that's a bad dude. Like, you shouldn't be a fan of Negan, because Negan as a character, sure, he's one of the great villains, but you should hate that guy. And in the comics, you wanted to see him dead. And I think that part of me is glad that they brought that to the screen, but part of me is like, they must have did it a little bit too good, because people were really mad about this.
I'm going to be honest, Negan was the only reason why I watched last week's episode, because I'm a big fan of Negan.
And I was going to say the same thing, Joe. I was like, I guess it makes me a bad person, because I'm kind of.
I don't want people to think that. I mean, you can like it or not. That's fine. Like, that's just my personal choice.
I just, the character as a whole, the way he handles himself, and the way Jeffrey Dean Morgan plays him, I'm like it.
When they casted him, I thought, man, that guy, whoever casted him should get a raise.
Yeah, it's mesmerizing to watch his performance. The way he talks, because he's such a good talker. He can kind of mesmerize you with it, and then throw these actions out at the same time. It's very cool.
Yeah. So Jared threw that out there, and I was going to write kind of a piece about it. And like I said, I don't want to pass any judgment on anybody. If you like, that's cool. Like I said, I was very stoked to see that they actually did him right. But I was kind of curious about your guys' take on the reaction to how they did it there. But
I'll just go ahead and
we can talk about serious subjects on Monsters of Geek podcast and still be friends at the end of the day. Remember that, internet. Go ahead.
I'll just go ahead and tell you when he turned, because I didn't think it was gonna happen. I think they was gonna kill Glenn because of how much that they've missed in the comics. It's the reason why I didn't watch the show, because Andrea is not the person she was in the comic. Rick still has a hand. They left Shane alive too long. Those are like the three things that made me stop watching the first season. And when I tuned in and they killed Abraham, I was like, okay, it's not going to happen to Glenn. And then all of a sudden he turns around and it happens to Glenn. I kind of chuckled. Like, I laughed kind of. And my mom was in the room and she was like, whose side are you on? And I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm just happy that they stuck with something. Like, so.
You know what? They released the original, how they had originally planned it and shot it. They killed Maggie first.
Mm-hmm. I seen that.
They killed Maggie and Glenn, but then they went back and killed Abraham instead. So I was like, that probably would have been a little brutal for if they would have showed him beating Maggie like that.
And her pregnant, that would have been a
Kirkman didn't do that. If Kirkman doesn't do it, you pushed the boundary too far.
Well, I mean, they originally shot it, so
That's true. They was like, let's just see.
what I heard is that they shot like everybody dying.
Because there's that montage in there where Rick, basically Negan tells him, he's like, listen, he's like, if you don't do this, I'm going to go back and kill every single one of them. And so Rick is flashing through before we find out who he kills, Rick's flashing to every single person, and it shows Negan just kind of bringing the bat down on top of them. So they're trying to not let you know who it happened to.
It'll be interesting, Jared. You'll have to keep me updated how they do the Negan Rick thing, because in the comics that has become one of the best rivalries I've ever read in comics. Like it's intense. It's like a real life Batman and Joker kind of thing going on between them. People
crack me up when they're like, I can't wait till Rick kills Negan, and I'm like, he doesn't die. He's still there. He's still there, and I'm like, I hope that character stays there for that long.
Well, that's why Kirkman kept him alive, because he became such a popular kind of character. He's like, I kind of like the character now. I want to build more on him because he is such a strange, psychotic character.
Which is, I don't know. Do you read any of the spoilers from, or I guess, do you read any of the reviews for the
comics?
The comics still.
I know that they're about to get into war with the Whisperers. I guess, is that the name that they give the people that act like zombies?
Yeah. Do you know what has happened though?
I know he lets Negan go.
Yeah.
To help, right?
Well, Negan gets out and goes to the Whispers, and he ends up killing their leader and taking over. And then, like the latest episode or issue I was reading, Lucille breaks, and he loses his crap. I mean, he goes ballistic because he
lost my pit monster, darn it.
Exactly. And I was like, that's kind of interesting. He has this attachment. Lucille is almost like a person.
And you kind of wonder if, I mean, there's a lot of questions with Negan and Lucille being one of many that you would like to figure out. Maybe they touch on.
And they might, because there were several episodes when the governor was there, and they went into his backstory. So it was kind of interesting to see.
Did he write the novel for the backstory by then?
Yeah, I think it was already out. It came out like the season before. We had been introduced to the governor, but then I think he was over a 2-season span.
People thought he was bad.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what we thought. Like when I thought he's like a toddler compared to Mr. Psychotic over here. One of the things that I find interesting, and we'll leave after this, but I find it interesting when it comes to TV or movies and taking comics on there. I remember Paul Jenkins, who wrote Origins for Wolverine. I read an interview with him, and somebody had talked. He's right before the movies came out, and Wolverine it was after the first movie maybe, and Wolverine got super popular, obviously. And he went to Joe Quesada, and he was kind of pitching a Wolverine origin story. And if you've never read Wolverine in the comics, his origin story had been draped in mystery since he, kind of showed up. Weapon X, all that stuff. He doesn't remember any of it. So Paul Jenkins pitched Origins, and Quesada wasn't going to let him do it. And he looked at Joe. He said, do you really want this origin to be told on the screen and not on the page? And it's going to be interesting to see how, and they greenlit it. Like they told Jenkins, you know what, you make a point. Let's just go ahead and do this before somebody takes liberties with our character and makes an origin story. Because at that point, we know Marvel is this, hey, you do how we want to do it, but Fox didn't, that wasn't the case then. They probably took, cues from them, but they did pretty much what they wanted to. If you've ever seen Wolverine Origins, they pretty much do whatever they want to. So it's going to be interesting how they do Negan's backstory, because it's not been told in the comics yet. And I'm wondering if they will keep Negan around long enough in the TV series, but obviously Kirkman would probably want to tell his origin in the comic. So it's going to be interesting, because the comic has been so far ahead, but now the show, Jared, it's taken a pretty big leap. Like it's close to where you're probably looking at 25 issues now, close to the comics versus.
We're on, that would put us at issue 100 right now, because that's when Glenn died. So we're looking at 150, 155, somewhere like that, right? Somewhere around there. So
but they did a pretty good jump though. right? I mean, because when they said Negan showed up, I thought, whoa, this is a little bit soon here.
No, there was a lot. See, a lot of the stuff I can't remember that happened in Alexandria, but no, I don't think everything played out there the same way it did in the comic.
Okay.
But yeah, they kind of sped it along.
Because they stayed in Alexandria. I mean, you talked about them being in Alexandria, and I'm like, this is taking way too long.
See,
it was like 4 trades worth of issues. That's like 25 issues in Alexandria.
See, yeah, they didn't spend as much time in the prison. You know, you get fast forwarded through a lot of that stuff. They didn't spend as much time on the road, because that's what, like, one of my favorite parts was when they were traveling to all these different places. And in the show, you don't get a lot of that.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that makes sense that they've jumped so far ahead then, because there's a lot of stuff that goes on, like you said, between going to the prison in Alexandria and the Negan as far as that.
Right.
All right, so let's spend the Walking Dead hour. So let's talk about some
more lighthearted issues.
Yes, I think that's probably the most serious issue we brought up. You know, I just wanted, because I don't watch the show, so I like I said, I don't care either way, but it's just interesting. I thought that was, a timely discussion to have after all the internet outrage that we saw a week ago. All right, Jared, well, I'll let you start, man. Well, first of all, let's talk about what's coming out in theaters, and we're not going to talk much about this because we'll probably talk about this for once we all go see it. But Doctor Strange comes out on the 4th, which will be this coming Friday, and then also Fantastic Beasts come out a little bit later in the month. So 2 of the bigger movies. Obviously, we're all pretty stoked about Doctor Strange, and we've talked about that at length, so we won't talk too much about that. But those are the 2 big theater releases. But Jared, what do you go ahead and start us? Jared was kind enough to send us an Amazon. We're gonna go Amazon, Hulu, Netflix, and HBO. I think that's it. I think that's all. That's it. Okay. So Jared, talk about. We'll talk with Amazon first. What kind of jumped out at you as things that maybe people want to look at to be a chance to watch this month?
Yeah, and hold on just a second. I'm trying to. Every time I try to bring up a page, it ads keep popping up.
What? Ads on the internet?
Oh my gosh, it's ridiculous. So, all right. Well, crap. I keep getting these crazy ads popping up on my phone, and I can't get them to go away. Let me go back to the message now. But I heard Doctor Strange got really good reviews though, so I'm excited about that, and I think it's tracking at 85 million. So that's really positive too. One of the things coming out on Amazon that came out last month that people might want to check out before sunset, and what's the second one? Before Sunrise and Before Sunset, 2 of the Richard Linklater films with Ethan Hawke in them. I wrote a piece on them, about 2 years ago, I think.
2 years ago, one of the first people we had up, yeah.
Yep, and of course, those were up last month, and I really enjoyed those. On Amazon also, we're getting a lot of the James Bond. So if I could point 2 out, I would say Dr. No and Goldfinger. I think that Sean Connery was probably the best James Bond, even though I do like what's his name? I'm drawing the new one.
The new one.
Daniel Craig.
Yeah, you go.
Yeah, I really like him, but of course Sean Connery I think is awesome. If you like comedies, Top Secret with Val Kilmer, it's kind of like a dry humor, almost like a Monty Python type movie. And on 11/19, you get to stream Creed. So, though, if I had to pick something from this month, those would be my 4 for Amazon.
Joe, what kind of jumped out for you on Amazon coming out this month?
The whole Rocky series is going to be on there.
I saw that. So you get James Bond and Rocky. How cool is that in 1 month?
and then you turn around and you get Creed on top of that. So, you could have a Rocky marathon and watch Creed at the end. Fletch, if you've never seen Fletch, is going to be on there.
Fletch is a very awesome movie.
Those are really. I didn't get to see the second page because the stupid ad kept popping up. Here we go.
Touch on Fletch right quick. That was one I don't have Amazon Instant Video. Major League is going to be on there, and I've already discussed my love of Major Leagues, of the Major League movies, I should say. Fletch is awesome. I didn't know anything about Fletch till Kevin Smith talked about the story about Chevy Chase. And my good friend Mike McGill, he said, "Have you never seen Fletch?" I was like, "No." He let me borrow the movies. He said, "Go watch Fletch. I mean, go watch it tonight. Don't wait. Just when you get home, go watch it." And I thought it was great. Like, and I know Chevy Chase is a jerk, but when he's on, he's a comedic genius. Like, there's no doubt when he's on screen, he is so funny. And Fletch is basically like a private detective or private eye, and he dresses up in all these different type of he basically becomes different characters to get what he needs as far as solving the case. And just it's a super good movie. Jared, was it late 70s, early 80s, right? Early 80s.
Yeah,
maybe?
I'm thinking probably early 80s, I believe. And then there was Fletch Lives as well.
I don't think I've ever seen Fletch Lives, but I heard Fletch Lives isn't.
It's not as good, but I mean, there's stuff in there that you're like, oh gosh, again, like I can't believe they put that on the screen. But yeah, Fletch is an amazing movie.
85 was
okay.
Yeah, and one of the best movie posters ever. I forgot he opens up his wallet and there's like 6 IDs that pop out and all different people, which is really funny. But yeah, if you haven't seen Fletch, that's definitely one that jumped out to me because we all love Fletch, and that's one of those old movies that a lot of people don't know about. So go. We always like to give people new stuff to discover. So go check out Fletch. It's a really, really funny movie. Let's move on to Hulu. I don't have Hulu either, but there's some things here that I liked. One of the things that I have 3 that I really liked. One was Rounders, which I think that me and Jared talk about Rounders at least once a month at this point.
I've never seen Rounders.
You've never seen Rounders?
Nope. I know a lot of people have. I see it like in everybody's.
I think
DVD
I've told you like
collections.
once a month since we met that you need to watch. You need to watch Rounders. No, that's the movie with what's his face?
Kevin Spacey, is he in?
Jason Bourne. Who played Jason Bourne?
Matt Damon.
I think this is the right movie. It's Matt Damon.
Yeah.
He's a college professor. His buddy gets in some trouble and has a huge debt, and he has to go through. I think he has 30 days to pay him back. And basically, he comes to Matt Damon's character, and he has maybe it's his brother, I think, or some friend or brother or whatever. And Matt Damon apparently is a really good poker player. And he had got out of that lifestyle because obviously he had got in trouble when he got out. And so he has to go back into this kind of seedy lifestyle to repay John Malkovich's character, which escapes me. And it's just a really good kind